I had the opportunity to spend 72 hours with the world's fastest web designer, Dan Petty, at Epicurrence in the Outer Banks here in North Carolina. If you're unfamiliar, Epicurrence is an unconference for designers. Now, I'm not a designer, and I didn't come to learn about Dan Petty through his work as a designer. See, back in the day, Dan Petty made some really incredible short documentary film series, one that was called Greater Than Avatars and another called Freelance TV. So from one non-designer to another, here are 3 things that I took from that incredible weekend in the Outer Banks, other than just an amazing sunrise. A portfolio should guide you towards future work, not just represent work that you've done in the past. While most creators view their portfolio as kind of an archive for work they've done in the past, Dan and some other designers shared a more strategic approach to designing a website. They take the approach that your website should really guide you toward work that you want to do in the future, not just showcase work that you've done in the past. This means designing your portfolio to showcase work that will get you hired for work that you want to do in the future and attract the type of projects and clients that you want to work with and work on. And that means really being intentional about what you put in your portfolio and how you're designing the customer journey that someone has when they click on your website. I'm a big proponent of having a personal portfolio and not just relying on Instagram or any other social media platform. But I'll be honest, I am definitely guilty of getting behind on updating my websites. And I'm doing that right now by trying to migrate my personal website to Framer and get that updated and ready to ship. And honestly, this weekend really helped me give myself a filter for considering what clients I take on in the future and what I put on this current website. I've been asking myself, is this a project that I would be happy to do again with someone else or in a different version of this? And if the answer is no, it doesn't go on my website. And I think that's really important to think about too. It can be really hard to say no to clients and work, especially when you need the money, but it can also be harder to continue to try to get new work and different types of work if you're not selective with what you put on your portfolio and what you become known for as a creator. The second takeaway, there's a gap in the creative industry for mid-level talent. As someone who hires contractors for certain projects, this is something that I personally hadn't been able to fully articulate until I heard it said so plainly this weekend. There are times when I've hired a more senior or more experienced person for a project because I was short on time and I didn't feel like I had the time to teach someone or show someone who was maybe at a more entry level, even if they were really eager to learn. And I'm probably part of the problem when I do that. I think that there are a lot of people who are stuck in this chicken and egg game in the creator industry where they maybe don't have as much experience, but because they don't have a lot of experience, they're not getting a lot of opportunities to gain experience. And so it becomes this revolving wheel of how do we get more people who are in the mid-level range of their career if we don't put in the time as people who hire other creators to give them the experience and the opportunity to learn. I think oftentimes we just expect for in-house creators to kind of get that experience on the job before they go freelance. But often, from what I've seen, in-house creators are taught how to create within the confines of the organization that they're working with. And sports creators are a really good example of this. They're incredible at doing video for social, but they're maybe not as adept when transitioning to doing more documentary style film projects and video projects. And that's not because they can't do it or they can't learn. That's just not how they've gotten used to creating on a daily basis. So when they go freelance or they start to take on side projects to supplement their income or gain creative experience for when they eventually do want to go full-time as a creative entrepreneur, it's a little bit harder to get there sometimes. I would love to hear from you guys what's worked well for you in terms of hiring and working with entry-level creators. I think that for me, I'm definitely considering using products like Loom or even Riverside to document some of my creative processes, especially how I take on video editing, for example, to really have a documentation of my work process, my creative process, how I approach certain parts of the creative process like pre-production, editing, all those types of things, so that the learning curve and the time it takes for me to get someone up to speed or at least familiar with how I approach creating a documentary film or a social video or something like that a lot shorter. And if you've done that, I would love to hear from you how that went for you, and what are some of the things you look for in the hiring process to know whether someone's ready for a new opportunity. I also think that that question is probably an indication of how I approach hiring. I think that maybe my expectations are unrealistic in terms of the speed at which I want someone to catch on to things or to learn a new role. And maybe I just need to be more patient. I don't know. You tell me. Last but not least, we touched on the elephant in the room, which is that AI can't replace taste, curation, or creativity. While AI can generate content, and I say that loosely, it can't replace our ability to know what needs to be made. It can't replace our ability to curate ideas, and it definitely doesn't replace the creative input that has to go into AI in the first place. Developing taste really comes from harnessing our personal and lived experiences, which AI just cannot and will not ever have. So I think from jump, I've never been worried about AI taking my job. What I am learning is to lean more into my unique perspective as someone who's learning about, even now, how to be an online creator and how to build and develop different digital products for my community. What I'm learning is that there will always be someone who's creating a product or making a YouTube video, but there will also always be someone who wants to learn from my unique and distinct perspective. And that means something. That's unreplaceable. And I'm not starting out of the gate with a paid product. I'm learning how to share my experiences here on YouTube, share them in my podcast, share them in my newsletter, and just kind of go from there. See what ideas are resonating with people, test, reiterate, try different things, and just put myself out there first and foremost before building anything. I am someone who is constantly inspired by designers. I think there's so much to learn from people who work in different creative niches and fields and industries than you. I think designers specifically make me think differently about how to craft a website and what a customer or a viewer's journey is on my website, and how I present and package my ideas as someone who wants to move more into film directing and writing. They say to never meet your heroes, but Dan was pretty awesome, and he was a pretty chill guy, and I really appreciated that about him. And who knows, maybe I'll see him again at another Epicurrence event. I've never done any winter sports before. Until my next adventures, I'll catch you in the next video.